Hello there, Ray here, and today we will be looking at two new farms for 1.17. This is for the pointed dripstone and also the azalea trees. So right after the new snapshot came out, I actually designed two automatic farms that will allow you to get unlimited resources from both of them. And I actually have a farm for every single new 1.17 item, block, and mob. So if you're wondering what other cool things you can farm in 1.17, make sure to check out my playlist down below. And don't forget to subscribe and leave a like on the video. And if you've seen my snapshot review video or my live streams, you will know that we can make automatic farms for both of these. First, let's take a look at the pointed dripstone farm. These new items that you get off of it can be used to craft down into the dripstone blocks. But most importantly is the actual points, and these things are useful anywhere from killing withers really fast to making amazing mob farms. And many other cool tricks which I showed in this video here, linked down below. In order for these to grow, you need to have a dripstone block with water above it. It has to be a source, and you need to have at least one pointed dripstone hanging from it. Over time, these things will grow naturally. So I'm going to increase their growing speed by 100 times so you can see how slow they actually grow. For normally, it can take a Minecraft day for them to grow. The max length they'll grow is 9 blocks. So just underneath of that, I put in some water. That is all flowing to the center here. And then in the center, I have another channel which is flowing for both sides. And just bringing the items to the center where we have a hopper so they can be picked up and placed into a chest. Now the way that we actually break these things off is similar to my glowing vine farm over there, where I just have a flying machine, very simple one. We have a sticky piston right here and right here. And then we have two observers pointing into each of them. This observer is pointing to that one. And the same thing is over here. Each piston is pulling a strip of honey. There is 10 honey blocks here, and we have some immovable blocks above it. And the same thing is replicated on this side. Now with this fly machine, it will move across this and break off any of these stalactites. And the way this thing takes off is just by using the time of the day. When it turns midnight, this thing will turn off. That will activate it, and you can see what amazing thing this looks. And once it gets to end, it has a little bumper piece. Pretty simple. Just got a repeater and some redstone and a piston here that will send it back the other direction. Then once it gets over here, I'll sit there and wait until midnight the next day and take off again. Now in one day, it's not going to grow a lot, but it doesn't really matter. Very easy and simple build to do that provides a ton of pointed dripstone, and you can make this however long you want to. The player does have to be within range of it in order for these things to grow. If you have any further questions about this build, you can check out the world download, which I always provide with each farm. Next, let's take a look at this really simple azalea tree farm that is automatic. I just designed it, and it's actually pretty cool. So the azalea tree farm is really unique, and it provides not only sticks as well as oak logs, but it also provides what is kind of like their saplings, which is the flowering azalea or the azalea. And you need these two in order to start the farm up. So let's head on down in here, and this is where you actually AFK it. So to run the farm, you actually aim at the side of the stair, which is really strange, but it'll make sense in a minute. Let's go ahead and just hold right click, and if you're aimed properly, it's going to place the azalea into the proper place where it's going to get bone meal, it's going to grow into a tree, and it's going to get exploded by TNT. Notice that the player is far enough away so that he doesn't get affected by the damage that the TNT is doing to the tree. So the way that the farm is working is pretty simple. You're placing down an azalea, then there's a dispenser that is bone milling it, and notice that the moss block or the block or any type of dirt block that is underneath of it is going to convert when it grows. So let's go ahead and bone mill it. You see it turned into a rooted dirt, and the tree also grew above it, and it's kind of a tree that really goes off to one of the four sides. A little bit like acacia, but it can go much farther to the side. It's also a very low down tree, and at most will get 8 blocks tall. So the first part the farm does is the growing up of the tree. The player places in a sapling up against this stair here, and because you place it against the side, it's going to place it in the block beside it, which is right here in front of this dispenser full of bone meal. So if we just go ahead and place one in there, you'll see that it's going to grow into a mighty tree. And what it does next is it actually pushes the wood block that's in the area. That way there's room to place in another sapling, you could say. So I place it there. Notice this pushes it up. So now there's room in here to place another one. And then what we do is we trigger some TNT. And the TNT blows up the majority of it. Now because the tree always hangs off one of the four sides, there is these areas that are kind of in the corners which never produce leaves. And I take advantage of this by dropping TNT right here, because no leaves will ever be in this area right here, and also right here. And between these two TNT explosions, it destroys the majority of it. And when it blows up, it's going to drop the logs off of it. It's also going to drop sticks, and you get a chance of both the azalea, which are essentially the saplings which we can use to grow it again. Now everything that falls, we have a very simple collection system, just water that is moving everything to the center, and they drop down these two holes. Any items that fall down this hole will just go down into this little water right here and get moved around to the player, and then the player just AFKs here and picks up everything. So there's actually no hopper system to have to worry about. It's all real simple water. Now there is just a little bit of redstone that goes with it. I have a clock which is activating this dispenser. I just have it always on because it doesn't waste any bone meal. And besides this observer clock, there is that system which pushes up the dirt block, and that is just a sticky piston here which is hooked to a block which has a repeater. And the way that we detect that the tree actually grows is that we have an observer reading this wooded dirt, and as soon as thing grows on top of it, it's going to put a pulse off which is going into a block and over here to this piston, which extends this observer and goes down into this block here, which goes through it into that repeater that we seen earlier into this piston. That'll just extend it and then retract it. Now to prevent this observer from detecting the moving up and down of this block, we have a locking system which I just added in the back, and it reads out of here, goes around and just locks this piston downwards until the whole system is finished, and then I'll release it. And by that time it won't be able to detect anything new coming from this observer over here. Now the system to activate the TNT is also a bit more redstone. It's not too much. What we do is I just have the same signal that goes into our piston over here is also coming out the side, and it's going this direction and up into some scaffolding. What we do is we click this trapdoor for a short period of time. That's going to change the shape of the scaffolding which is detected by this observer, and that's going to send out a signal which we use to go to both of the two dispensers of TNT. And the reason I use dispensers rather than TNT dupers is because some people can't use those on servers. But if you want TNT dupers, you can place those in just like an infinitely automatic wood farm, which has a couple of them that work great. So once we activate these dispensers, what they're going to do is place TNT in front of them. It's going to fall down to this water just to create some delay. Otherwise, I would have to place this machine really high up in the air, and then after some delay, the TNT will fall downwards and it'll drop right about here where it will explode. Same thing happens to the other side, but with a little bit of delay afterwards. That way the items have time to get picked up before the next explosion occurs. Go ahead and we'll watch this. The tree grows. We're going to activate TNT. One falls over there, one falls over there, like so. And then the items are all collected by these little holes. Don't worry if items fall into this hole, they will get pushed out when the block is turned into a log. Now, it doesn't do a 100% job at destroying the entire tree, but I figured this was probably good enough to get logs out of it, as well as enough saplings to resupply the player. TNT can be adjusted to be a little bit higher if you think that need to remove more of the top logs. One thing we did notice is that the explosions can kind of come through here and could take out this dirt block if the TNT is too high up. That's why we have this stair here to prevent any blast from going through the sides here, but they can still clip through the corners because of the way of TNT explosion calculations. Now the final piece of redstone is just a system to prevent the player from constantly placing in new saplings until the tree is completely removed. And I pull a signal from this piston here and this observer, and it just a lot of delay here before it goes over and opens up this trap door. So if I just click that, this is how it's normally like. You normally can't place any saplings, but then when you click this, and if you place in a sapling, go ahead and turn it spawn again. And now if I sit here and right click, you see I can't place anything. And you can see now, let me place a new sapling which grew a new tree. And it's going to do it all over again. Don't worry about items that get stuck right here in these corners. And when the tree grows, it's going to push the item out, as you've seen there. So it's a great source of wood, especially if you have TNT dupers, so you don't have to supply it with any items. But as you guys know, I like to design farms that are infinitely automatic, meaning once you start them, you never have to do anything more to keep them going. And just like I designed an infinitely automatic wood farm with the fungus tree farms, we also came up with a design for a infinitely automatic playerless wood farm with the new Azalea. I made a little mock-up here to show you kind of how it works, but this is how it goes. What you do is you bone mill this moss block here, and that has a chance of putting some vegetation over top of these blocks. And then what we do is we use pistons over here, and we power these pistons to remove any vegetation that isn't an azalea bush. And then we just repeat this process, and eventually we'll get one bush there. And then from here, we can bone mill it with this dispenser, and that's going to grow it into a tree. Then just like the other tree farm, I push it up to make room right here again, so there's air. And then we can repeat this process by clearing off the platform. And notice that this is a rooted dirt, but if we bone mill it, we can turn it back into a moss block, which has a chance of growing azalea on it. And we just keep this process up until we can get another azalea bush to grow in the proper location. And this is exactly how my infinitely automatic wood farm works with the fungus trees. You can look forward to that video coming out soon. In the meantime, if you want to build up any of my other 1.17 farms, I'll provide this world download in the description, as well as a link to my playlist covering all the new 1.17 automation. The rates of the Dripstone farm really depend on how large you go with it. Where the rates with the azalea tree are decent, but I will be making some tweaks along the way as we are still in the snapshots. I look forward to a video in the full release. Thanks everybody who joined my testing with the viewers live streams. It really makes designing these farms more enjoyable. Now if I make any changes to these farms, I will put the changes in the description as well as my pinned comment. I would like to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye!